श्रीवत्सवंशकलशोदधिकौस्तुभस्य श्रीवासराघवगुरोस्तनयं ततश्च विद्या अवाप्य विबुधोत्तमतां दधानं कुर्वे सदा हृदि गुरुं करुणाकराख्यं लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये माता पिता योतयस्तनया विभूतिः सर्वं यदेव नियमेन मदन्वयानाम् आद्यस्य नः कुलपतेर्वकुलाभिरामं श्रीमत्तदङ्घ्रियुगलं प्रणमामि मूर्ध्ना भूतं सरश्च महदाह्वय भट्टनाथ श्रीभक्तिसारकुलशेखरयोगिवाहान् भक्ताङ्घ्रिरेणुपरकालयतीन्द्रमिश्रान् श्रीमत्पराङ्कुशमुनिं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम् श्रीमान् वेङ्कटनाथार्यः कवितार्किककेसरी वेदान्ताचार्यवर्यो मे सन्निधत्तां सदा हृदि. So far, we were looking at the acharyas. We saw that as Shatakopa Muni's Shishya, the great Natha Muni came, and then after him there was Pundarikaksha Acharya, who is called as Uyakondar in Tamil. Then there was an Acharya called Rama Mishra, called Manakal Nambi in Tamil. And then there was Yamunacharya. Swami Deshika has written a work called Yatiraja Saptati. In Yatiraja Saptati, he has dedicated one shloka each to the Purvacharyas until the time of Bhagavad Ramanuja. So, before we continue and complete the life story or the contributions of Yamunacharya, let us very quickly see the shlokas composed by Deshika for Acharyas until Yamunacharya. I don't have slides with the shlokas, but I will just explain what is said. Deshika starts by praying to Bhagavan because Bhagavan is Adi Guru. The real Adi Guru is always Bhagavan only. In the Shankara Parampara, they say in South India that their Guru Parampara started with Sadashiva. In North India, the Shankaracharyas say their Guru Parampara started with Narayana, that is Vishnu. Either way, you are essentially saying that your Adi Guru is Bhagavan himself, the one you consider to be almighty. He is the one from whom the parampara began. Therefore, we see the Smartas saying shlokas like Narayana Samarambham or Sadashiva Samarambham. We have discussed this a little in one of the previous lectures. Likewise, the Sri Vaishnavas, we say Lakshminatha Samarambham. Who is Lakshminatha? That is Vishnu, Sriman Narayana. But there is a specific reason why we say Lakshmi Narayana. The reason is Lakshminatha. The reason is that we not only refer to just Vishnu, but also refer to Vishnu, who is specifically along with Lakshmi Devi. As Deshika himself would say in Sri Stuti, Mata Devi Tvamasi Bhagavan Vasudeva Pitame. Hey Devi, Mata Tvamasi. O Devi Lakshmi, O Sri Devi, you are mother. Bhagavan Vasudeva Pitame. Lord Vasudeva, he is my father. In that way, Deshika celebrates that. We have seen this about Sriman Narayana being the focus in Sri Vaishnavism. That is the reason why we are called as Sri Vaishnavas. We do not traditionally call ourselves as Sri Sampradaya. We call ourselves as Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. So, in Yatiraja Saptati, the very first shloka, Deshika says, Kamapyadyam Gurum Vande Kamalagrihame Pravakta Chandasam Bhakta Pancharatrasya Yasvayam. Adyam Gurum Vande. I pay my respects and salutations. I offer salutations to the very first Guru. Who is that? Kamapyadyam Gurum Vande Kamalagrihame. He is the one who has the house of Kamala. Kamala is the name of Lakshmi Devi, Mahalakshmi. Where is Mahalakshmi's home? Mahalakshmi resides on the right side of Mahavishnu's chest. That is called Vakshasthala. So, he who cannot be described completely, who is great beyond measure, he is there with Mahalakshmi in his Vakshasthala. And what does he do? Along with Lakshmi Devi, what does he do? Pravakta Chandasam Vakta Pancharatrasya Swayam. He takes care of the entire universe as though it is a yajna for him, as though it is a daily ritual for him. He gave us the Vedas. He is the one who gave us the Vedas. And he is also the one who gave us Pancharatra. As Mahabharata says, Pancharatrasya Krutsnasya Vakta Narayana Swayam. So that giver of Vedas and Pancharatras, the giver of Nigama and Agama, to him we pay our respects and salutations. We pay obeisance. In the second shloka, now that he has identified Vishnu with the one, he has identified Vishnu as the one in whom Lakshmi resides, he goes on to Mahalakshmi herself. Sahadharmacharim shaurehe sammantrita jagadhitam anugrahamayim vande nityam ajnata nigraham. So he says, she who is nityam ajnata nigraha, she knows only to bless people. She does not know to curse people. That is the nature of Mahalakshmi. She knows only to bless. She does not know to do anything else. So, she is that kind of an entity who would only give us her blessings. Anugrahamayim is. Then what does she do? She can never curse you. She always blesses you. In fact, she is Anugrahamayi. She is the embodiment of Anugraha, the embodiment of blessings. Sammantrita Jagadhitam. Along with Bhagavan, she does everything for the welfare of the entire universe. She is the Sahadharmachari of Bhagavan. Sahadharmachari means Sahadharmacharini, the dharmic wife. Therefore, I pay my respect to her. After that, he prays to Vishwaksena, Vande Vaikuntha Senanyam Devam Sutravati Sakham, Yadvetra Shikaraspande Vishwametat Vyavasthitam. So he pays respects to the chief commander of Bhagavan's army, Vishwaksena. And also his consort, Sutravati. The entire universe works because Vishwaksena is the one who is controlling it as per the order of Bhagavan. Vishwaksena has a weapon. It is the cane. He moves his cane a little and the entire universe functions perfectly. The entire functioning of the world is controlled by the tip of the cane. Sutravati, they say, his Dharma Patni. She is the one who encouraged him to descend to the earth and give initiation to Nammalvar. We saw that when covering Nammalvar's story. Senesha Swayam Agamya, that shloka. So how did he come? Because his wife prompted him. This story is also found in the Sthala Purana of Alvar Tirunagari. Then Deshika goes on to the next Acharya. Yasya sarasvatam sroto vakulamoda vasitam shrutinam vishramayalam shatharim tam upasmahe. Who was initiated by Vishwaksena? Shathakopa, Shathari. That is Swami Nammalvar. Deshika says that Nammalvar we worship. Shathari means the enemy of Shathavayu. We have seen that explanation before. He whose composition, which is like a cool stream, which is when you consume it, it is cool and it is also sweet because it has been composed in Madhura Bhasha, Tamil. It is fragrant with the Vakula flowers that are worn by him in his mala. They help us today to live life in a proper way. They guide us about our purusharthas, about our daily duties. We don't need anything more than what he has taught if we want to live a dharmic life. Therefore, Swami Deshika says, Shrutinam Vishramayalam Shatharim tam upasmahe. The Vedas that are there in Vedic Sanskrit, Swami Nammalvar, because the same Vedic teachings were brought out in his work. And by learning his work, you are automatically learning the Vedas. He gave rest to the Vedas for some time. He gave rest to the Vedas because I do not have to go and learn the complex Vedas to understand them now. I could simply learn the teachings of Swami Nammalvar. Shrutinam Vishramayalam Shatharim tam upasmahe. In this manner, he has praised Swami Nammalvar. Who did we see after Nammalvar? Now we come to the slide. Natha Munigal. So, Nathena Muninatena Bhaveyam Nathavanaham Yasya Naigamikam Tattvam Hastamalakatam Gatam. So, this Ranganatha Muni, we say, so there are two versions of the shloka. Nathena Muninathena, that is one version. Another is Nathena Munina Tena. Both are there. So, if we see it as Nathena Muninathena, it would mean he is the Lord of Munis. If we say Nathena Munina, it will mean by that Muni, Natha. Muni, the word, it has one important quality that it describes. It is Mauna, silence. Natha Muni, as a practitioner of Bhakti Yoga, he would perform deep meditation. Meditation is silent. Therefore, the title Muni is very appropriate for him. So, he is my Natha. Nathena Muninatena Bhaveyam Nathavanaham. Because of him, I have become Nathavan. I have become a person with a Lord. Why? Because I have accepted him as my Lord. That means I am his servant. Who is a Nathavan? Nathavan means servant. And he, Yasya Naigamikam Tattvam Hastamalakatam Gatam. He is the one who clarified all the Vedic teachings, like in such a way that you would be able to grasp the teachings of the Vedas as though they are just one amla fruit inside your palm. This shloka we have discussed before as well, so we will not get deeper into it. After that, he pays respects to Pundarikakshacharya. Pundarika means lotus. Another word for it is Aravinda. Therefore, Swami Deshika says, Namasyam Aravindaksham Nathabhave Vyavasthitam Shuddha Sattvamayam Shaure Ravataram Ivaparam. I salute that Aravindaksha, Swami Uyakondar. He, Namasyami Aravindaksham, Natha Bhave Vyavasthitam. Who is that Natha? Natha Muni. He is always there in the heart of his Acharya Natha Muni. He behaves like the heart of Natha Muni. What does that mean? Behaving like the heart of Natha Muni, whatever his Acharya would think, he would do, as though he himself is the Acharya. Does it mean he is taking over the duties of the Acharya? No. Whatever you want, whatever you desire, if it is dharmic, then others should also practice it. And in the case of the Acharya, that too an Acharya as great as Natha Muni, whatever was there in his heart was 100% dharmic. And to do those things after the time of Sriman Natha Muni, Swami Uyakondar strived. So, it is said that Namasyami Arvindaksham Nathbhave Vyavasthitam Shuddha Sattvamayam Shaurehe Shuddha Sattvamayam Shaurer Avataram Ivaparam. In this way, he is celebrating. He is Shuddha Sattvamaya. He is purely Sattvic. We have already seen about Shuddha Sattva in the previous classes. It means he has no Rajoguna or Tamoguna. Shaurer Avataram Ivaparam. Shaure we saw before also. Sahadharmacharim Shaurehe. Shaurehe we said that means of Bhagavan. Shauri means Bhagavan. Shauri means Krishna. Shauri is a name of Krishna. So, Shaurer Avataram Ivaparam means just like Lord Shri Krishna, Pundarikakshacharya was also behaving. This comparison is special because Krishna himself was called Pundarikaksha. We have seen the shloka before, right? Where Duryodhana says, Bhishma Dronavati Kramya Mam Chaiva Madhusudana Kimartham Pundarikaksha Bhuktam Mishala Bhojanam. Duryodhana, who does not like Krishna, still calls Krishna as Pundarikaksha, lotus-eyed. So, just like Krishna, he is also behaving. If you look at how Krishna behaved, Krishna also worked for the fulfillment of the master. He ensured that the Yadava dynasty does not get the crown. Therefore, even after killing Kamsa, he gave back the kingdom to his father, Ugrasena. He ensured that the rules are followed. Krishna is also full of sattva guna. Krishna is also Pundarikaksha. He is the original Pundarikaksha. So, this Acharya, Uyakundar, is also just like Krishna. In that way, Swami Deshika is celebrating. After that, there is a shloka for Rama Mishra. So for Rama Mishra, the shloka is Anujhita Kshama Yogam Apunya Janabadhakam Asprishta Madaragam Tam Ramam Turyam Upasmahe. Anujhita Kshama Yogam Apunya Janabadhakam Asprishta Madaragam Tam Ramam Turyam Upasmahe. So Swami Deshika says about him that this great Acharya is to be understood as a person who continuously excels all the three Ramas who came before him. What is that? Who are the three Ramas who came before him? There are three Ramas. Think about it. In Dashavatara, there is Parashurama, Sri Rama, Balarama. They are called as three Ramas. So we continuously meditate upon the great Acharya Shri Rama Mishra, who is better than the three. How could you say he is better than the three Ramas? Oh, let me explain. Parashurama was a punisher. Rama Mishra never punished. He showed only kindness. Sri Rama killed Rakshasas. But Rama Mishra did not kill the Rakshasas. So, Balarama also had some weakness that he showed specifically. If we talk about Balarama Avatara, Balarama intentionally behaved in an inferior way so that even though he is older than Krishna, Krishna is celebrated by everyone. For example, you would see that Balarama gets easily pleased by Duryodhana, whereas Krishna is not difficult to please. A person like Duryodhana cannot please Krishna, but he can please Balarama. Balarama had specific weaknesses. He is described as a person who had a weakness for women. He behaved that way so that Krishna could be glorified more. But he behaved, right? So he also had a weakness of drinking, which Krishna did not have. What sort of statement is this? Balarama had a quality of drinking. It is said in the scripture. It is said that he had these qualities. He intentionally lowered himself so that Krishna could be highlighted more. But these bad qualities were also absent in Rama Mishra. Therefore, who would you follow as the perfect example? Today, will you go ahead and say, oh, I will be the slayer of all the Rakshasas. Where is the enemy? Where is the enemy? Let me take my sword and fight. Would you behave like that? No. Would you say, oh, I hate all Kshatriyas. Let me kill them 21 times? No. Or would you say, I will drink because the great Balarama himself drank? You can't say that. But who could you really follow? You could follow Acharya Rama Mishra. In that sense, Swami Deshika, by using Nahi Ninda Nyaya, there is a concept called nahi nindanyaya, where it would appear as though you are insulting someone or showing them as beneath another, but you are actually not doing so. When we said in some other lecture, you would have heard that Shatrughna is better than Rama. That is said by using nahi nindanyaya. We do not really imply that Shatrughna is superior to Rama. We just say that it is easier to behave like Shatrughna than to behave like Rama. In that sense, Shatrughna is better, right? We are not implying any insult to Rama there. Shatrughna performed Bhagavata Seva. Rama was the perfect being. What is easier for us to be? It is easier for us to be servants of Bhagavatas than to be the perfect being. In that sense, Shatrughna is a better example for us. So we do not imply any ninda to Rama there. In the same way, without implying any kind of ninda to Parashurama, Sri Rama, and Balarama, we should understand this shloka that praises Rama Mishra. Remember, Ramameshracharya had already attained Paramapada long before the time of Deshika. As a person who attained Paramapada, he was also there in Sri Vaikuntha with all the qualities of Bhagavan, almost all the qualities of Bhagavan. So Satyatva, Jnanatva, all of that was there with him. He got eternal existence. He had infinite knowledge. He also had infinite abilities. He also had Shuddha Sattva. In all of those cases, we see that he also became very similar to Bhagavan, right? You cannot become Bhagavan, but you can become very similar to him when you get moksha. And the difference will remain that even after moksha, you will be his servant and he will be your master. Although whatever Bhagavan thinks will be exactly what you are thinking. It is not like you think something else and then because Bhagavan tells you to do something, you would do it. We have covered this part also in another lecture about how dasatva that we talk about in Sri Vaishnavism is not in any way a kind of inferiority. It is in fact a kind of absolute pleasure. We discussed this when discussing the shloka of another shloka of Deshika. Right? Manivaraiva Shaurer Nitya Hrudyopi Jivaha. When discussing that shloka, we saw. Then Swami Deshika comes to Yamunacharya. He says, Vigahe Yamunam Tirtham Sadhu Brindavane Sthitam Nirasta Jipmaga Sparshe Yatra Krishna Kritadara. Nirasta Jipmaga Sparshe. Jipmaga means a person with Vakra Buddhi, bad Buddhi. So, Swami Deshika, in this particular shloka, celebrates Swami Yamunacharya. He was called Yamuna, he was called Yamuneya as well. Vigahe Yamunam Tirtham. He is being paid respect as Yamuna Tirtha. How? This shloka is special. It has two meanings. Remember, it is a Deshika shloka. We are only touching the surface of the meanings of his shlokas, even the ones that we discussed so far. This shloka directly has two different meanings. One says, I worship the Yamuna river. So, I dive deep into the Yamuna river that gives its waters to Vrindavana, which is having all sorts of good people. This Yamuna was freed from Kaliya serpent, and Krishna loved this Yamuna river. See, Vigahe Yamunam Tirtham Sadhu Brindavane Sthitam Nirasta Jimmaga Sparshe. Who is that Jimmaga? In this case, Kalinga. So it is void of existence. In the river, no evil creature exists. There was one Kaliya, but he was subdued by Krishna. Therefore, it has no evil in it. Yatra Krishna Krutadaraha. So, in that sense, it is celebrating the Yamuna river. It also works as a praise for Yamunacharya. In Guru Parampara, you cannot suddenly bring Yamuna river, right? Obviously, the original intention is to praise the great Yamunacharya. So he says, instead of implying that I'm diving into the Yamuna river, you say, I'm diving into the auspicious qualities of the great Acharya, Yamuna Tirtha. He protects with his auspicious qualities, he protects all people with sadhu vritti, all the good people. Lots and lots of good people are there. A place full of good people is called a sadhu vrindavana. Nirasta jitmaga sparshe. Bad ways are never supported by him. Bad concepts, bad people are never supported by him. All of those bad things disappear. He makes them disappear. Yatra Krishna Krutadaraha. In that Yamunacharya, Bhagavan Sri Krishna had great interest. Krishna loves his devotees, and as a perfect devotee of Krishna, Yamunacharya was also loved by Krishna. It is said that Yamunacharya's ancestors, if you really see, since the days of Mahabharata, they had been continuously worshipping Krishna. Continuously, they had been worshipping Krishna since the days of Mahabharata. Why not before that? Before that, Krishna Avatara had not happened. So, till Yamunacharya, Swami Deshika has praised. After Yamunacharya, we usually go on to Bhagavad Ramanuja because we say he is the one who fulfilled the wishes of Yamunacharya, the three wishes we saw about that. But in Guru Parampara, as we know, Yamunacharya attained the supreme abode before he could initiate Bhagavad Ramanuja. So let us look at the remainder of Yamunacharya's life. Whatever points we have not covered, we will quickly cover a few of them. Then we will get into an introduction of Bhagavad Ramanuja's life. Is the next shloka about Bhagavad Ramanuja? No. The next shloka is about that great Acharya who initiated Bhagavad Ramanuja. So, Swami Deshika would say, Dayanignam Yatindrasya Deshikam Purnamashraye. Yatindra, that is Bhagavad Ramanuja. His Deshika, his Acharya. Who is that? Mahapurna. So, we pay our respects to Mahapurnacharya. Yena Vishwasrajo Vishnorapuryato Manoratha. We will explain this part a little later. Once we introduce Mahapurna, that great Acharya, in the life of Bhagavad Ramanuja, we will discuss more about him. So, in his last days, Yamunacharya got to meet Bhagavad Ramanuja. He got to see Bhagavad Ramanuja. He wanted to make him his Shishya. Back then, Ramanujacharya was a Shishya of Yadava Prakasha. We will, of course, discuss the story of Jagadguru Ramanujacharya from the very beginning. But for the time being, let us know this much. He was a Shishya of Yadava Prakasha. Eventually, Yadava Prakasha sent him away, and Bhagavad Ramanuja wanted a new guru. At that point of time, the great Yamunacharya sent his Shishya to invite Bhagavad Ramanuja and bring him to Srirangam, where Yamunacharya was living. But by the time Ramanujacharya arrived, Yamunacharya had departed from the world. At that time, Bhagavad Ramanuja saw 3 fingers closed, and he saw them and asked why. We have already covered this part, so we will not get into the details. But when Periyanambiyal, that is Mahapurnacharya, when he brought Bhagavad Ramanuja, this was the situation. So, as Bhagavad Ramanuja started pledging, I would do this, I would do this, I would do this. These are your wishes, unfulfilled wishes. So I will ensure that they are fulfilled. As he took the pledge, those fingers started becoming normal. Yamunacharya's life was over, but his hands, miraculously, the fingers in his hands started opening up as Ramanujacharya started making those pledges. So it was a divine command, and not just a divine command, a divine understanding. Why do I call it a divine understanding and not just a divine command? Divine command is easy to understand. The Acharya wants the Shishya to do it. Okay, that is easy. But how is it a divine understanding from the side of the Acharya, the great Yamunacharya? He had known already that Bhagavad Ramanuja would be born. He had already known. He has been predicted. Ramanujacharya's life has been predicted as Bhavishyadacharya. He is predicted in the Agamas. He is predicted in the Puranas. He is also predicted in the Divya Prabandha, in the verse Puliga Puliga. So, as his arrival had already been foretold, the Acharyas before the time of Bhagavad Ramanuja were actually worshipping him. His own Purvacharyas were worshipping him. It is a very, very special thing. Bhagavad Ramanuja was worshipped by all of his Purvacharyas. He was also worshipped by Yadava Prakasha. Eventually, Yadava Prakasha would realize his mistake and surrender to Ramanujacharya and become his Shishya. So he is a unique case where all of his Acharyas were also his Shishyas. All of his Acharyas were also worshipping him, or worshipping those who worship him. So, Ramanujacharya was divine. Are we saying that the people who came before him are not divine? They were also divine. But Ramanujacharya is special. How is he special? He is special because he is an incarnation of Adishesha. Bhagavan instructed Adishesha to go and revive bhakti. What do you mean revive bhakti? Did Yamunacharya not have bhakti? Did Uyakondar not have bhakti? What do you mean by reviving bhakti? It means reviving bhakti among the masses, in the population. the much wider population. It had come out of bhakti, somewhat similar to what is happening today. We see the youth without any bhakti towards the Veda. We see the youth without any bhakti towards the scriptures. They do not have any bhakti towards the acharyas also. Even if an acharya gives a citation, even if the acharya recites a Vedic verse, some people today, the growing trend I am talking about, it is not yet the majority, but there is this growing trend of such people, especially among the youngsters. What do? They ask, oh, where is this from? Tell me the chapter number and verse number. When on earth did the traditional Gurukula system teach Vedic mantras with numbers? There is no concept of maintaining a book. Indeed, there are chapters. Indeed, there are number of verses in chapters, but they are to be counted. You cannot say like Zakir Naik 6.3.523. You cannot say something like that if it is inside the Veda. It will take time to know because we memorize the entirety. Therefore, it is easy to recite. But when you recite, what is the meaning? Why should I believe in your meaning? Look at this fellow, H.H. Wilson. He has translated the Rig Veda. He has explained the Vedic verse in some other way. He has explained it in a way that implies that the practitioners of Vedas were Aryan invaders of fair skin who drove out the local populations that were of darker skin. Why should I not believe that? Why should I believe you? These kinds of questions are asked today. So we are seeing a bad trend. Has any Acharya like Ramanuja Acharya been foretold for today? No. But the teachings of such great Acharyas are still there. Simply by following those teachings, we could protect Dharma. Now, what was happening in those days was people were slowly losing devotion towards Bhagavan. There was a point of time during the days of Adi Shankaracharya when there was a threat towards the belief in Veda itself. Many people had lost faith in the Vedas. Adi Shankaracharya boldly said, the Vedas are absolutely correct. You cannot question them. If the Veda says something, it is correct. Never question them. Question the Vedas in the sense you can question for the sake of understanding, but you cannot reject the Veda. Now, coming fast forward to the days of Yamunacharya, the number of people who believed in the Veda had increased, but misinterpreters of Veda were too many. So the number of people who started believing in the Vedas had increased considerably. But there were all sorts of misinterpreters, especially some ahankari people. So I was explaining this in another room yesterday morning about how Shankara Bhagavad Pada, when he said Aham Brahmasmi, that Brahman is Nirguna, void of attributes. Therefore, when you say Aham Brahmasmi, after understanding the meaning implied by Adi Shankaracharya, you will not get pride. Because that Brahman is not something that is very rich or very capable, all powerful. That is not the way he has described it. But when you see in practice, Aham Brahmasmi, I am that Supreme Brahman, I am that Supreme Brahman, I am that Supreme Being, people would get ego. So in practice, even when you teach humility, people would not get humility. Shankaracharya said, get rid of ahankara, but people got ahankara. Now what will you do? So on one side, I accept the Veda. The Veda itself says Aham Brahmasmi. Therefore, I am that Brahman. Come and worship me. If I tell you that way, would it be fair? It would be absolutely unfair. That is exactly what was happening in those days. So, we say a lot of ahankaris had come up a lot of misinterpreters of the Vedas had come up, and a lot of people who had initially never accepted the Vedas had also started pretending to accept the Vedas just to get formal recognition, because the population, the public, has started respecting the Veda. So what would these fake people do? These fake people who never accepted the Vedas would now pretend that they also accept the Vedas. They would say, we are also Vedic, we are also Vedic. They would trick the people into following them. This kind of a situation existed during those days. In order to save the people from this kind of a situation, in order to bring back the authentic teachings of the Veda, in order to bring back devotion of Bhagavan, in order to revive the practice of visiting temples and worshipping. See, even in Advaita, they say visit the temple for Chitta Shuddhi. Advaita is not against going to the temple. You see, even Shankaracharya is going to the temple. But by the days of Bhagavad Ramanuja, even temple worship started getting questioned. Why should I go? No, no, I do not accept this agama. This agama is wrong. This agama is anti-Veda. I will not go. Even today, if it is anti-Veda and you don't go, it is okay. But if you say out of your own ego that it is anti-Veda, when it is actually 100% Vedic, that would be wrong. So, there were people who started cancelling temples. Shankaracharya had said that he accepts the practices of Pancharatra, but people had started cancelling Pancharatra temples. People had started cancelling Pancharatra temples, whereas Pancharatra is something that was taught by Bhagavan himself. He said, if you want to worship me, these are the rules. This is how you build a temple. This is how you perform puja. He had taught. And that has been rejected, cancelled. So, faith in Bhagavan has to increase, devotion has to increase. For that, people need to get disciplined. Discipline is very important. So, when Shankaracharya said, please, so when Shankaracharya said, please, I'm sorry, I lost track. So, when Shankaracharya said, do not have ahankara, do go to temples, be disciplined. And then he said, meditate on the Mahavakyas. Now there are some people, they came and said, we will keep meditating. We will not do anything else. What did Shankaracharya say? Shankaracharya said, I am Brahman. Therefore, I will keep meditating. If you are qualified, then go ahead and do. But then there were some fake people. They said, we are already Brahman. The entire world is an illusion. As the entire world is an illusion, we can live in whichever way we want and you should not question us. The world is an illusion. We will live in whichever way we want. You should not question us because it is an illusion. Now, how would you counter them? If they do something wrong and you question it, they would say, no, no, I'm not doing anything wrong. That is just an illusion you are seeing. These kinds of people started growing up. So, a lot of people who are not practicing the Vedas, who are not having proper faith in the Vedas, started pretending to know and follow the Vedas. This led to an increase in the number of misinterpretations, which is why there was a problem. So, on one side, devotion is decreasing. On the other side, understanding the meanings of the Veda is also getting difficult. It is said, it is narrated that since the days of Shankaracharya himself, Saraswati Devi had been having this headache of misinterpretations of the Veda. Bhagavad Ramanuja, one of his purposes was to relieve Saraswati Devi from her headache. He did that. So when you misinterpret what is the original Vidya, that is called as the Veda, that Vidya Pradayini, Saraswati Devi, she feels hurt. Therefore, when Bhagavad Ramanuja visited Kashmir, Saraswati Devi took the palm leaf manuscript of the Sri Bhashya and she placed it over her head. Therefore, showing great respect for it, she gave it the name Sri Bhashya. She placed it on her head and said, "This has relieved my headache." Like how you would apply an ointment on your head. She placed the Sri Bhashya. So, this was the reason behind the birth of Bhagavad Ramanuja. We would look at it in greater detail in the next class. For now, if anybody has any question or doubt, please feel free to ask. I hope I have been completely audible. If there is any question, please feel free to unmute and ask or ask in the chat section. Thank you for unmuting yourself, Geetaji. That showed me that I am audible.
Sorry, sir. I was about to say that you're audible, but I don't have any question.
Iyengar is a community name. In general, the Brahmanas of Sri Vaishnava community are called as Iyengars. But Sri Vaishnava need not necessarily be a Brahmana. There are non-Brahmin Sri, there are Kshatriya Sri Vaishnavas, Vaishya Sri Vaishnavas, Shudra Sri Vaishnavas. Varna is not a restriction for being a Sri Vaishnava.
Swami, what are the three promises?
Sorry?
What are the three he pledged in Swami Bhagavad Ramanuja pledged in Yamuna?
You can see that in the recording. It has already been covered.
Okay, sir.
Ramanacharya's life was already covered in the previous lecture or the lecture before that. You can see that. We will again see it anyway when we discuss the life of Bhagavad Ramanuja. So that is there. Okay, if there's no other question, I will conclude the lecture here. Thank you so much for attending.
Jai Shri Ram Swami.
श्रीमते वेंकटेशाय वेदांत गुरवे नमः.
Thank you very much, Guruji. Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram.